Hi, and welcome to another review. A little beforehand, I just want to mention that I'll be rebranding this review and not be PPG reviews because PPG and PPG, Peanut Butter Gamer, is kind of too similar. I wasn't trying to take any fans or anything like that. It just came to me and I started using it and then I realized it's too similar. So for the reviews, I'm going to call them Fireplace reviews because I do them from a fireplace. So makes sense. This week we're going to be looking at Game Dev Tycoon for the PC and Windows tablet, if you have one of those. I don't know who does. Anyways, it's a small little indie game developed by Greenheart Gaming, and it's basically what it is. You're a game developer and you're tycooning, or a tycoon, I guess. Whatever. So, the goal of the game, you start off in the basement developing games, and you play 30 years of developing, or 40 years of developing into the PS4 era, so that's it. Since this is a indie game and it's just like a little tycoon game, I'm not going to be breaking it down by gameplay, story, presentation, graphics, all that, because there's not enough to say about each individual thing, so it's going to be more of like a free flow discussion. Free flow discussion just about the game and a review on that. So the game starts off with you starting in a basement just by yourself in the 80s making games. You get to make for the Commodore 64 or the computer or PC. And they don't use real names for companies. They change one letter just to be clever, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. So you pick a topic like racing, sci-fi, all kinds of stuff, and you unlock them by using resource points, which you earn by making games or researching, which is kind of strange. But that's what you do. So you get those topics and you have genres, which pretty much stayed the same the whole game until you unlock casual, which is not huge. So you combine those two that you think work, and then you pick the system, and then you have 3 stages of development. And then you have to. It's kind of like a mashing up, trying to get the right amount for each game. Like if you want an action game, you want to focus more on gameplay. RPG, you want to focus on story, which is a really cool idea, but a lot of times it seems like it doesn't exactly go the way you want. You're like, oh, action game. If you just have gameplay, the best gameplay, it's going to be the best game, right? Not quite. That's not how it works. There's a little more to it, and sometimes the fee seems just a little strange, and I feel like it's could have been done a little bit better. And then, yeah, that's what you go through. And I'm gonna say a few bad things about this game, but it's really not a bad game. It's a lot of fun. So let's start off, get the dirty laundry, get the bad stuff away now. So after the Commodore 64, after a couple months, whatever, as time goes by, the Nintendo gets unlocked. And it's kind of annoying because I would like to see that Atari game, Atari 2600, but kind of skips over that, which is kind of a shame. And it skips some other systems too, like the Game Boy Advance and all that, which I understand, the SP and all, micro. We're not going to do all the variations, but Atari 2600 seems important to game history enough to have it, because this game does delve and dive into history of the games, like Sony making the the CD attachment for the Super Nintendo, and then a week later having it fall through. And they don't mention the Philips CDI and all that stuff, which kind of came from that, but it's kind of how they got the PlayStation, because they went away from Nintendo because Nintendo had a deal with Sony at one point. And it kind of goes into that. I wish a little bit more history, because video game history is actually pretty interesting, but it's cool that they have a little bit of it. And other than that, it's pretty simple. As you make your first million, you can move to a bigger office, and then you can hire more people, and it gets a little more complicated because you can have a bigger game where you have to put people on to different sections. Like, this person's good at art, so he's going to go on the graphic style and stuff like that. And it's not that it gets too complex. It's just it's kind of explained because it's not too complex. There's not too much to think of, but it kind of just gets not overwhelming, just a little too much, that the simplicity and the fun loses a little bit. But I understand that has to make it more difficult. I just feel like the balance is in there more difficult and just more things to do. I feel like it's just more things to do, which is the biggest downfall in this game. Because if you start doing bad, like make a couple games in a row that just like are flops, because it happens, it's really hard to come back. Because you'll have like $5 million, you're doing great, you make a game, kind of crap, you go to 3.5 million. You gotta pay your rent, you gotta pay your employees, and it just keeps going down. It's really, really hard to catch up. It's really unforgiving, so you gotta make sure you save, because the autosave saves all the time and you're just gonna be screwed. So that's the biggest downfall, I would say. But there's a lot of cool things, like little things like you get to go to E3 and you get to set up like a medium, small, large booth, and people get to come and you try to get in the top 100, and that helps you get fans, which helps you sell more games. There's contract work, which kind of you just click on it and watch your bubbles fill up, and if you do it, you get money. If you don't, you lose money. And then you can publish deals, which you make a game for a publishing company that, they'll ask for like a casual movie game that gets scores of 5 from reviewers. And so you do that, and the game will sell more, but you only get like 9% of the sales, but you can earn more fans that way. So you can see they have a lot of ideas. Some of them aren't explored enough, and some of them are just executed poorly, but I hope they make a sequel. I feel like this game's going to sell pretty well, because I can't see how much development cost went into this. I'm sure they poured their hearts and all their money into it, but I feel like it's easy enough to make back, especially that $8 price tag, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for a game like this, like a small little first-time indie game that almost feels like a phone game, which I'm not a huge fan of, $8 seems a little bit high, but hope that they do sell it and not get pirated too much, which this game's really easy to pirate. But I won't go over those, like especially if you buy the game, you can get it to your friends pretty easily, but I won't tell you how to do that because it's not fair to them, and you should definitely support them because it's just a few people working on it. It's not this giant corporation, so I'm not going to say anything to do how to get around that. So it's a very mixed bag of how I feel this game. Graphics are just whatever. You're looking at menus mostly, and they're kind of plain. You move these graphs up and down, and they feel like things I could design, which isn't a good thing, but it's nothing that takes away from the game. But if it was better and flashier, I'm not saying graphics mean a lot, but it's just a little more exciting to look at. It would go a little bit. The sound, I don't even remember what the sounds are. Doesn't matter. It wasn't annoying. It wasn't great, but as long as it's not annoying, it's fine for this game. So in that regard, it's fine. So again, how do I feel about this game? It's fun. The best part is the beginning, mostly. Actually, anytime you make a game, you're like, oh, I researched. All right, let me talk about researching first, because you earn research points as you make games, and then you develop like multiplayer, like different kinds of sounds, upgrade your graphics, and then you have to make engines that everything you research you put in that costs a lot of money, but then when you have the engine you can put into a game. So if you have stereo multiplayer, that can be all in one engine, which is cool. It's a good idea, but you unlock things so often that like you want to keep making new engines, but that's too expensive because you want to make RPGs, so you go story projection, like progression, like non-linear story, character progression, all that. You make an RPG, you unlock like branching paths and more stuff you would want in your RPG, and you're like, I just made a new engine, I don't want to make a new one. So it could have been done differently. So back where I was going. So you make a racing game, and it's an action game, and you have multiplayer, and you have stereo sound and awesome graphics, and then you're like, you have to wait for reviews to come in for every game, and that's the most fun part about this game. It basically makes it worth it just for that, because reviews come in, and they'll go, like the numbers will change, and you'll be like, from game.com, it's like, if you see that 10, and it's just like, best game ever, 9, can't wait for the sequel. It's a really simple, you're just looking at numbers change and having a 10 pop up, and it's so exciting. It's one of the most exciting things I've experienced in a game in like the last couple months, I would say, and that's pretty dang cool for something simple. And that really shows the simpleness that games can be and still have that like really fun charm of you accomplishing something. So that captures it so well, and it's really fantastic, and I applaud it. So that's why this game's worth it. It has a lot of downfalls, so I can't give this game a good score. Well, a great score. I'd give it about a 7 out of 10. There's a lot of bad things, but there's enough fun to be had, especially at that $8 price tag, which I actually think is a tad too much, but it's still worth it. I mean, if they give it if it was $5, I'd say get it instantly. If it was $3, I'd be like, just get the game. I would make people get it because it'd be worth it. But even at $8, I'd say pick it up. Hopefully they make a sequel, not try to make a new game that kind of stinks at first. It would be good, but a sequel would just make a sequel of this. So yes, 7 out of 10. Anyways, I'm out of breath. Anyways, remember to comment, like, subscribe. I took a week off because I was finishing school-ish and things just got a little complicated. It's a complicated week starting work again for the summer, but I'm back at least 2 videos a summer. No, not summer, because that wouldn't be much. 2 videos a week, 1 review. I'll be doing retro reviews soon because I can't be playing new games all the time because expensive, not enough time. Plus, I'm working on a show, which scripted, actors and all that, which will mostly be about, well, I'll be the character, but you'll see. I'll hopefully get one out by the weekend. And then I'm proud to announce my Cartoon Fridays. Yes, what was on Cartoon Network, and it's going to be me talking about cartoons and kind of reviewing cartoons, but looking at them more in-depthly, and new cartoons, old cartoons, really old cartoons, looking at different decades. So there'll be a new topic every week. I want you guys to pick the topic eventually, once people start commenting and all that stuff, and I'll take the best and look at that and try to develop a whole show weekly. But first one's going to be about Teen Titans Go, the new Teen Titans show on Cartoon Network, and how silly shows are in right now, and if that show's any good. So if you're wondering, you probably avoided it like the plague. If you watched old Teen Titans and saw the commercial, but is it really that bad? I don't know. Tune in Friday. I'll have that up. So thank you everyone for watching. Remember to tell everyone, please, and go buy Game Dev Hero at Tycoon, Heroes.com, Junior, Greenheart Games. Ciao!